Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast. We're so excited for you to join us. It is June 2nd, which is crazy, but we are here and we're alive and we're sort of figuring crap out of life. Sorry, I'm gonna not turn my volume up. Let's start with what we're doing today. So, Michelle, why don't you go ahead since you're fixing your bakes?
I have this funny gap. I don't know what I did with the hair dryer. Anyway, oh my gosh, I look like I did in the 90s. Do you remember? I was combing my bangs over sideways
and flooring them.
Yeah, except I didn't fluff them and spray them. Okay, just okay. This is a
just
podcast.
Show us half your face.
Yeah, this is a podcast about writing. Oh, whatever. This looks stupid. Okay, whatever, you guys. Okay, so I've been writing today for the first time in a week and a half because the end of school is a nightmare. And we've been doing catch-up games because we had a really rainy spring. So spent it at the soccer fields and then school auditoriums and crashed on my couch the rest of the time. But I did write. So that always felt, that feels really good. And my first book since July of last year is going live on tomorrow. It's going live tomorrow? No, Saturday. So that's super exciting because that book took a lot to get live as an ebook because we published it as a Kindle Vella book first. And it's amazingly difficult to put all the bits and pieces together when you don't write in an organized fashion. So we had episodes that we wrote on Google Docs, on Word, sent back and forth. I had them on Scrivener, and we had different versions of it from our editors at different times. So we never had one complete finished manuscript edited at once. So it was just a mess, but we're getting great feedback from our ARC readers. So I'm excited to see if this one does as well as an ebook as it did on Kindle Vella.
So what are your guys' plans for your launch?
Don't ask me that. It's launching on Saturday. Do you think we've made plans for our launch yet?
Yeah? I don't know. No. Well, we did talk about book launching 3 weeks ago. So I was wondering if you had any, you're just going to kind of put it out there for a little bit and then.
Yeah. So because my life just got crazy, the furthest we got was getting it formatted, proofread, out to ARC readers, the pre-order set up. I had to call KDP and beg them for my pre-order rights back because I was due to get them back in 3 weeks anyway. So I was like, can I please have them back a few weeks early? And they were super nice and gave them back to me. So I don't know. And then I got that done and life took over for a little while. So this may be a slow rollout kind of launch rather than a boom kind of launch. But hey, that works.
You have different options.
Yes.
For different things.
For sure.
Cool.
So,
well, exciting. Yeah. What about you, Laura? What are you doing? What are you up to?
Oh, so last week I finished my first book of 2022, which is amazing. I last year averaged a book every other month. This year I'm in June and I'm like, I've just finished a book. So it feels so good. And I've got it back from my editor and I went through all the edits and, the back and forth. And then I read it through yesterday and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this book. I'm so happy with it. So I'm really pleased because sometimes you read it and you're like, oh, still not happy with it. So it's finding a place where I'm like, yes, I feel so happy. And I had TikTok help me write it because I kept pitching scenes that I was like, I wonder if I should put this scene in the book. So I'd do a TikTok and pretend it was in my book and it, would if it didn't take off or people were like, I was like, okay, I won't put it in my book then. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book written by TikTok. So I'm excited about that, but I'm also in that post book. It's the baby blues, I guess, when you give birth to a book and you're just like, I feel like a zombie. What are words? What are feelings? And I'm trying to get on top of my everything I dropped to finish it. So yeah, I'm really excited. And and I'm excited for this new month. I feel like May was a very up and down month. It was just hard work, wasn't it? I think we've all had lots going on. It's very busy, and I'm ready for that kind of like new month pizzazz that you feel. I'm pumped. Let's do it. That's what I've been up to.
Yeah. It's like a fresh start. You start over month of June. You can make whatever adjustments to your goals that you did or did not hit the month before. And it's interesting though with you, like it's every time you hit like a milestone, it's almost like you have to go back a couple of steps just to take a break, and then you can come back. So
yeah,
that's
sure.
awesome. And then I am still writing my book. Super jealous. I'm at 50,000 words, and I'm maybe 10,000, maybe 15,000 words away. I don't know. This book is going to be a cliffhanger, and it's going to go on for a while. So I just have to find a good stopping point. But I still have some certain scenes that I need to put in. And so I'm working on those right now. I'm also writing it with 3 different points of view. 2 of them are the couple. The other one is just another girl that's having her own romance story. So it is definitely longer because I'm always adding in different like scenes from different perspectives, and I don't know, we'll see how it goes. And I'm excited. I'm taking a mentorship course with a company that is not an author company. And I'm really excited to see the things they're going to teach me. They're going to do they've been helping me with TikTok. They've been helping me with Facebook ads, TikTok ads. So I'm really excited about where I'm going to go with that. And having a perspective outside of the author world, I think will be really nice, because I think we get into our boxes that you have to do things this way because all the authors say you should. And these are people who help other companies make money. And so I'm really excited about doing that. So, but we're going to talk about our 2022 goals and where we're at. So we're going to start with Laura, because she had no goals. So she wasn't on our podcast when we set goals. So why don't you go ahead and let us know, like, what goals did you set for yourself? Did you hit any? Did you not? What have you learned? And then how are you going to take the first half? Because it is the middle. Oh, like this is the month before we get to the middle of the month of the year. The middle, like June 30th, midnight is the middle of the year. Keep wanting to say month, middle of the year. So you have June to kind of reflect back on how the last 6 months went and what you're going to do to make the next 6 months go. So there's a lot to say. Tell us what your goals were and what you're kind of thinking for the next 6 months.
Okay, awesome. Well, at the end of 2021, I was struggling a lot with, I think in hindsight, it was burnout. I was extremely emotional. I was struggling to write. I was struggling to make business decisions, and just feeling generally very overwhelmed. And, like I said, I'd written a book every other month. So I think that year I just put loads of work into creating the content. So I had the backlist. And what I wanted for this year was to write less books, but make more money. And I think it really was that simple. That was like my main goal. I was like, I want to be able to make more money. And a thing that really, and I know it was last summer, but it was a real game changer for me, was that at last year's writing conference with the writing gals, there was a class by you, actually, Amory, about backlist and selling your backlist. And I was like, that's very new. It was a very new concept to me, because I had been under this kind of illusion, I guess, that you always have to push your front list and you can't sell books unless you're constantly releasing new books. And I got to a point where every time I released a new book, my income wasn't growing. And I'm like, but my books, like I have more books out, but I'm not making any more money, and I'm very confused. So this year, I think, was about, I want to grow my readership and I want to sell my backlist so that I could have a better work-life balance, because writing a book every other month for me, it's just not sustainable. So this year, I was thinking of that kind of at the forefront of my mind, and I think that led me to a few different choices. One was that I wanted to kind of become an expert at least like for me and my business, I wanted to become like a master of advertising using Facebook and Amazon, and also of social media in general. So like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, that kind of thing. And I wanted to tunnel in, like really focus in on each one individually. So for February, I did my all in on TikTok month, where all I did was focus on TikTok. And then on March, I focused very heavily on Facebook ads. This month is interesting. It's sort of like I'm learning to put all of the pieces.
She froze. I'm putting all the pieces into what?
Have I frozen? I'm
You're back.
Sorry.
You said I put all the pieces, and then you died away from us, and then we were left hanging.
Dun dun dun. Yeah. So now I'm working on all the different aspects of like optimizing my product page, making sure that my ads have the right ad copy that's just going to hook the people in. I have learned an awful lot, and I was looking at the last 90 days of my income, and I've made double what I made the previous 90 days. So even though I've only released one book that I wrote last year, I've doubled my income. So I'm like, I've hit those goals. I'm very happy. But now I'm focused on bringing all those pieces together and making something really magical happen, because I know that I'm not reaching my potential. But it's exciting because I suddenly have clarity. I know exactly how to sell my backlist, and I know what I need to do. So this next half of the year is going to be just working really hard on making sure that I've got everything optimized, and then just doing the work, and then, hopefully scaling up again. So
yeah, that's one of the downfalls of the whole publish is that for me, it was a rat race I got into, and I was never taking time to optimize. I was just putting out the next book. So previous series, it took me going back and looking at lifetime of money made on each individual series or books that made me realize, okay, if I can make that money when I released it, why can't I make that money now? That doesn't make sense to me. That it's almost like you convince yourself, especially when you're not looking at it on a daily basis, that like it will never sell because it's never sold. And I looked back and I was like, my marriage series made me 70 grand over its lifetime. Obviously, these are good enough books. I mean, it's been 4 years, but these are good enough books that people are wanting to purchase them and read them. So I had to get out of this mindset of like, no, they're my older books. People aren't going to like them so much. They're people have changed and things like that. And I'm like, no, that's not really true. But I always say now, like, work on your stuff now, do your paperback stuff now, because it is a pain to have to go back, and it is a long road to go and fix the things, like even your back matter, going back and fixing your back matter so that it flows the way it's supposed to is.
Yeah, so true.
Do that with like 2 books. Don't wait till you have 57 and you're having to upload them and wait for Amazon, because it's the uploading that takes forever. And you're like waiting 10 minutes. Like, why have you not uploaded yet? It takes a long time. So yeah, sometimes you do have to have that break to do it. So now it's going to be ads, optimizing things. And I also think you were saying that TikTok helped you with your book writing. So like that feels like it leveled you up into the next book. And then you're going to get fans of your book before you even write it.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
this book has 400 pre-orders now. And that is the most I've ever had. So
oh, really?
I'm sorry if people are like, oh, that's not very impressive. But for me, the most I've had is like 250. So I'm just excited.
Was that your mermaid one?
No, it was Love Me Like You Mean It. But
you kind of had some practice pitching your Little Mermaid one before that one came out.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
So
I know for me, like pitching my book through TikTok has helped me level up my craft and level up my storytelling, because where I would have normally, like we were talking and you said that you would normally end the book here, but you're taking it farther, which I thought was pretty cool too.
definitely. Because the biggest complaint I had was that my endings were rushed. And yeah, just engaging with those readers on TikTok. They're very vocal and just paying attention to what they complain about or what they wish they saw more of in books. I was just kind of taking notes. And obviously I like camping out in the review section. So like I'll read everyone's reviews on like best-selling books and stuff. And I'll find out what is it the readers really liked? What is it that they were not very happy with? And so constantly I would see this kind of people saying that they would like to see them together happy for longer before they have their dark moment, and that they don't want it just to be the dark moment and then they say sorry and then everything's fine and that's the end. They want like something else, So I've definitely been following, I think his name is John Truby. He worked with Hollywood, I believe, and he coaches people on writing blockbuster scripts. And so I've been following his method, which kind of is more like the Marvel kind of style, where it's not necessarily just the 3-act structure. You kind of make it broader and bigger. But yeah, I'm really loving it. I mean, in a way, it's more angsty because in order to like elongate that storyline, you needed to have a little bit more tension and conflict. So I was like crying at the end and I'm like, this is meant to be a rom-com. But anyway, it's all good. It has a parrot in it.
I saw a TikTok by Tessa Bailey, and she was like crying, and they're like, what are you doing? And she's like, writing a rom-com. And so I was like, so you're okay then. I think you're okay if you have some crying, because Tessa Bailey is okay with, because she is like, it's the laughs. You have to have the cry so you can have the good laughs or something like that. So
yeah,
that's awesome. Well, cool. I still don't know quite what your rest of your year goal is, but it's just keep doing.
I keep doing what I'm doing, but I do want to write more. Now I've written the one book. I do want to write at least 3 more books this year. That's what I have scheduled.
So you're going to go back to a book every other month.
Well, the thing is, there are 2 books that I've already half written that are shelved.
Okay.
So I'm like, one is a Christmas rom-com, and then the other one is a rom-com for my personal shopper series. They're both half written. So I'm like, I can totally do this. Like that's just basically like 1 book and then 1 more, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's not so bad then. Well, awesome. Cool. Well, I'm excited. Now write these down, because at the end of the year, we're going to ask you how you did. So
Okay.
Here we go.
Keep me accountable.
Keep you accountable. I'd love to ask people their goals all the time. I'm like, okay, did you accomplish your goals since last time we met? And what are your new goals? All right, Michelle, are you ready to go? You're giving the side-eye mom look.
There may or may not have been some yelling going on while I was muted.
You need to learn to do ventriloquy, where you're like, so you don't just look like.
I'm just part of the entertainment here, I guess. This is going to be all summer long, guys. So just get used to it. So my goals, I was looking through them, and I have accomplished a few of them. Not the hard ones, not the most important ones, maybe, but I accomplished some. So first of all, I was going to focus on Velo first, which I've done. I've continued to do. So that means for me, I write and release on Velo first, and then I publish elsewhere. I wanted to start some ads, which I did, and I shut them off last week, but I did it, and I saw a little bit of a baby bump, but it wasn't enough of a bump for me to like continue with it until I had time to focus on it, because my ads were declining in effectiveness, and I didn't have time to constantly go in and take care of them. So they were becoming more of a drain than a help. And so I just turned them off temporarily until I can rejuvenate my funds and my motivation. I wanted to start my fantasy pen name, which I did. I started on Kindle Vella, but I'm within like 2 or 3 episodes / chapters of finishing the first book in that fantasy series. And I've just got to decide, I think, if I want to wait until I have the whole series written before I publish it. I'm not sure. I've got to think through the pros and cons of different ways of doing that. And a lot of it would have to do with how much I had money-wise to put towards advertising because it would be a brand new pen name and nobody knows me in fantasy, and what my return on investment would be with one book versus, I don't know. I'll talk to my besties about that later. The biggest thing that I did is I told myself I was not going to make promises to my readers this year, and I haven't. So yay me, because I had originally wanted to put out 6 books this year, and like I said, I've just gotten one about to go live, and it's June. But like I said, I'm almost finished with one a few episodes ago, and then I have my rom-com is, I feel, well underway. So I think I should be able to put a rom-com out. No, this is not a promise to my readers. This is just me hoping and wishing that I may be able to get a rom-com out before summer's over. So it depends on if I decide to fast track it on Bella. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm not doing super well with my releasing schedule or my financials. But I'm trying to really focus on improving my mental health still and where I'm at with enjoying writing, because I've lost that so much through the last couple of years for various reasons. I'm continuing to work through my ADHD issues, which cause a lot of dysfunction, but can also create a lot of opportunities. And there's this really cool phrase that I've kind of adapted from somebody else, from another ADHD awareness person. It's called follow the dopamine. So basically, people with ADHD do not create very much dopamine, or we have an imbalance or lack of it. And so we get really enthusiastic when things give us dopamine. And so that's when we're able to be successful and actually make progress on things. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can give myself those constant doses of dopamine to help me be motivated. And part of that is writing on Vella, because I get the dopamine every time I publish an episode. But another part of it is just I want to really be enthusiastic about the projects I'm working on. I'm not super enthusiastic about business ever, but I'm trying to think, okay, how can I be enthusiastic and enjoy this particular aspect of it? How can I give myself a dopamine shot in this process so I can make myself do it? So I have a lot to work on for the last half of this year. So I think it's good to kind of have this mid-year check-in and be like, okay, well, the first half of the year happened. It is what it is. You can't change it. You can't fix it. But you got this shiny new half that you know has lots of promise and you can do anything with. So hopefully when we get to our end of the year check-ins, I'll be able to say I've accomplished some more of these goals on my list.
Well, and I think it's good too, because it also helps you to reset, where at the beginning of the year, I think we normally like, okay, we have 12 months. I have so much time. And you set these really big, lofty goals. And then you get to the middle of the year and you're like, okay, I totally misjudged that. And then you can come back and you can say, well, then I'll just reset. And I'll say, okay, what can I realistically do? Yeah. And that would be writing one more book. Like, set that as your goal. And if you write 2, then great. You have well exceeded your goal for the second half of the year. So yeah. It's kind of so that way at the end of the year, you're not like, wow, what did I do with 2022?
Yeah. I really need to figure out how to get big word count days in again. And I'm experimenting with a lot of different things to figure out how I can get big word count days again, because that was always my process. I was never good at writing 1,000 words a day or 2,000 words a day consistently so that it added up. I was never good at that. It was all or nothing, which is another ADHD trait. And so I need to figure out how to get back to those big days, because now a writing day for me is like, oh, look at me. I wrote 1,000 words or 2,000 words, which is fine, except if it's one day a week, that's not going to work, you know? So if I'm going to do this, like most of my writing on 1 or 2 days a week, they have to be bigger word count days. So I'm starting to make deals with my family Like, I've been having discussions with them. I'm like, don't make mom mad. Don't make mom frustrated. Don't make me grumpy. Don't give me like a lot of unimportant tasks to do first thing in the day. Don't interrupt me. Like, just let me work until this time, and then I'm all yours. That's just how I need to be. Like, let me have time and space to do my work. And I've been like, look, guys, this benefits you too. If I can write more, I can finish more books and sell more books and make more money, and you will benefit from that too. So this is a win-win for everybody. Just give me some space until noon, that kind of thing. So
I just tell my
we'll work
kids,
something out.
I tell them, I say, don't make me tired now, because in the future, you're going to want me to babysit your kids. And I'm going to be too tired because you wore me out. And trust me, by then, you'll want me to watch your kids. And they're like, I'm not having kids, Mom. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
I'm getting kind of frustrated with this stage of my life because parenting teenagers is really hard. And it was hard to write with toddlers and babies, but it was a different kind of hard. And it's one that I learned how to deal with and figure out. And now I'm in this new stage and I haven't figured it out yet.
And I think you have a lot of girls. And
yes.
I hear girls are harder as teens because they're easier as they're little. And I was like pulling my hair out with boys. And my boys have definitely calmed a whole lot down since before. I was like, teenagers are so easy.
Yeah, it must be the girl boy thing because that has not been my experience.
I was like, all my white hair is from raising my oldest. Now he's 15 and I can actually want to be around him, where before I was just like, he has ADHD too. And you're talking dopamine hits, man, that kid's looking for any dopamine hit all the time. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank goodness you have grown up and maybe discovered girls a little bit, and like peers looking at you like, what's wrong with you? Like, that's kind of helped calm me down. But for a while there, I was seriously doubting my ability to keep my child alive because he was
impulsive. So, yeah.
I get it. It's hard. Kids throw a wrench, spouses throw a wrench into your life, and
sometimes just crazy. Life things come along.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So,
well, my biggest 2022 goal was to sell my backlist. That was my goal last year, was growing my backlist this year. So I never had any new book that went out. It was just, well, my YAs were new because they were different each time. It wasn't like trying to keep a series going. So I've definitely done that, which is nice. I have worked really hard to get, as like the first half of the year, I wanted to get like my covers updated. Well, I wanted to get my paperbacks and hard copies made. So I did that for a lot of my series. And then I went and changed the covers. So then I had to redo that, and getting my backlist together, and just all of this. Like, I would spend the whole day at my computer and I'd get done being like, okay, well, what did I do? And there was my whole month where I didn't check my income because I wanted to focus on my ads, and that went okay. And in February, we found out my daughter has a rare genetic disorder. And so we've been trying to battle that. Like 2020 has just been an emotional year for my family, at least. I don't know if Michelle and Laura agree with me. It's just been hard. So that was my goal. I really wanted to focus on writing selling my backlist. But my publishing goals were 3 books in my Sweet Tea and a Southern Gentleman series. I have one, and I have not put up another one for pre-order, which I will probably do once this one's done. 3 books in my Untouchable series. No, but I did put it up for pre-order next year. So we'll see how that goes. And then I wanted to write Rule Number 8, and Bella did not do that. Don't have time. I'm still struggling just to finish this one book. But my marketing has definitely done well. 1 to 2 TikToks per day. I have blown past that, but I post way more TikToks than that. Facebook ads. I felt like I got to a point with my Facebook ads that I had reached a point in my knowledge and I needed to step out, which is why I ended up hiring this mentorship program / marketing program to kind of say, okay. And it was the weirdest experience. It was expensive, but I was sitting there talking to the guy and asking him all my questions. And you know me, I'm like question after question after question. And the guy did not miss a beat. He had answers for everyone. Never promised to make me a certain amount of money, which I hate. Like if anyone ever says, I'll make you blah, 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 like run, because there's no guarantee. And they're just trying to hook you and entice you in. And he didn't do that. And I just, all of a sudden I had like deja vu while I was looking at him. Like, I was like, I have seen this scenario in a dream, which was the weirdest thing I had ever experienced. And I kind of felt like that was my, some revelation to me, like, okay, I need to get with this course. So I was like, sold, where do I pay? And I was probably like the easiest person you ever had to convince, but I felt like I'm ready for this next step. So I'm excited to see where they can take me. I've already seen like multitudes of return on what I've been taught. And it's really nice. I do 8 weeks of one-on-one consultation with one of them. And it's supposed to be 30 minutes, but I end up chatting his ear off for 45 minutes because I'm like, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And I finally feel like I found somebody who could answer some of my questions that I've had, or to be kind of like, you really overcomplicate things. Like, it's not this hard. Here's how you do it. So now he gives me advice and I'm like, well, people said not to, but I'll trust you and I'll try it because I'm willing to try anything. So the other one is building my wide audience. I'm not really doing the greatest at that. My pie is very, very heavy skewed to Amazon, but I have, without running like BookBub ads and doing promotions and stuff, I really don't know how I can be building my wide platforms. To me, I think wide platforms will just come as a result of more Facebook ads, more TikTok exposure, people going to those sites and finding me. There are in-house promotions that I haven't quite taken advantage of yet. So that could be something. I did start my YouTube channel.
Yay!
Yay! I have let it die because I don't.
Yay!
I'm sure it would be easy to put videos, but that is just not. I'm trying to like think about paying my kids to do it and just put them up for me. But I'm also like, I don't know if they would do a good job, and then I'd have to go and fix what they did wrong. And then I'm like, okay, I don't know. The other one was set up promos monthly. I haven't done that, but I like doing TikToks because they almost become a BookBub without a discounted price. Mm-hmm. But that's definitely an area in my backlist that I could be working on and read. Or honestly, I just got mad at BookBub. I was constantly redoing. What are you laughing at, Michelle?
That's when you know you're on a different TikTok level, when you can compare TikTok to a BookBub.
This is true. But literally, I did not, on here was not like figure out TikTok. I have spent months since like October on TikTok posting and crying and throwing my phone across the room. And yeah, Judy said BookBub doesn't want me, so TikTok it is. Seriously, I have been requesting and they keep saying no. So I'm just like, fine, I don't want you then. It's not a healthy thing, but and then the other ones I had were mindful. So I had three columns. One was published, market, and then mindfulness. Filling my bucket, still struggling with that. Marketing, I know Michelle hates it, but marketing fills my bucket a lot. I like that success part of it. So that's my dopamine hit. And so I definitely need to do better. Focus on my family. My kids are in school a ton, so I worked during the days while they were not, but I can definitely do a lot better. And focusing on my health, find a hobby, don't have a hobby yet. I had a newsletter on here. I hate my newsletter. I hate my newsletter with a passion. So
I hope they don't hear you.
I love them as people. I talk about like anxiety. It does not give me dopamine hits to send my newsletter, so I don't do it. So I struggle with my newsletter. So I should probably try to at least get back on and send one a month or something.
I've been hearing from my people, well, you haven't been getting newsletters from me for a while. I'm like, oh, you noticed. I guess.
Nice.
Nobody
says anything to me.
But it also reinforces the guilt. Like,
yeah. Just be like, it's what is it called? Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll just be that much more excited when I do.
When I start bombing you with newsletter swaps now because I've got books coming out.
I'm like, just follow my TikTok channel or follow me on Facebook, but like I cannot, I don't. I wanted, and this is what I'm learning too. I'm pushing out the things I don't like, and I'm focusing on the things that I do, and then everything else can go by the wayside. And I really want to focus on this as well. Like we all feel like, oh, well, so-and-so is doing TikTok, so that I have to get on TikTok, or so-and-so is killing it on Instagram, or this. And soon we start bringing all these pieces onto our plate and in our goals list. And then we look at it and we're like, I want to do none of these. And then you don't. And then by the end of the year, you're beating yourself up because you put all of these goals on your list that you don't really want to do. And so like, we need to be able to say, I don't have to, and then be okay with that you don't have to. And then when you hear people say, I did this, you're like, great, I'm happy that works for you, but that doesn't work for me. And you have to find your own path through the forest. So as you are resetting and looking at, oh, I have something wet on my chin. As you are looking for the rest of the month or the year, if you didn't do that if you haven't done it in this 6 months, you are probably not going to do it in the next 6 months.
I haven't published any books in the first 6 months. Don't tell me that.
Oh, well, not that. Obviously, we're authors. So writing, you cannot push off your list. Okay. That is an important thing. How about, you're going to push out not publishing your book. That's going to go off your goal list.
There we go.
You're going to publish your book on your goal list. I meant more of the other stuff that you get overwhelmed with. If you're a person and you say, write your book, and you go, I don't want to, then I would say you're probably not an author then. You should probably go find another job. So
I think 2023 is my to-do list, or my goal list is going to be like, you have to do this, or you have to do that. You don't have to do this, because like flip it, because apparently in my ADHD research, when people tell you have to do something, it's the last thing you want to do. And maybe it's like that newsletter, like I'm supposed to do newsletters, but I don't want to do newsletters because I hate them and people told me how to do it. But if they said, you can't do a newsletter, stop it, you're not allowed to, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I want to do my newsletter now. So I might just reverse engineer my goals next year. Something like that.
So now I'm the exact opposite. I don't want to do my newsletter because I feel like a person's inbox is their personal area, and I'm like in there, and it gives me anxiety. And every time I send out a Google form, I always end up doing it wrong. And so then I have to resend it out. And it just was like, so if you told me, Amy, you don't have to do your newsletter, I'd be like, thank you. Okay, I won't do it then. Because you said I didn't have to. And so I'm not going to do it. Like it would not, I would just be like, I keep newsletter on there because I'm like, I know it's important, but I don't want to do it. And I hate it.
But the thing is, people sign up for your newsletter because they want to hear from you. If they didn't, they would unsubscribe. And also, it's not just specific to ADHD, because I remember Tony Robbins said that the psychology of I should comes like the feeling you get after you say the words I should. You don't get excitement. He's like, no, you don't even think. Tony Robbins says, like, with goal setting and with what you want to do every day, when you want to plan a schedule of what you want to achieve each day, don't think about the individual tasks of what you need to do. Think about how you want to feel when you go to bed at night, and then think, what would I need to achieve to make me feel that? And then during the day, instead of saying, I should do this, think, I want to feel like this when I go to bed. I want to do this. And then it changes the psychology. You just end up doing everything you want. Which is awesome.
Well, I would lay in bed and be like, I am so grateful that I didn't have to send an email today. So
I found a new quote to put over my desk, and it says, remember, you're doing this to make your life better. And I don't know, I was randomly scrolling through Pinterest and saw that quote. It was like one of those, doesn't even like by somebody, but I was just like, that's what I need to remember when I'm sitting here and I'm doing something that I don't like to do, I have to remember the reason I'm doing it, and it is to make my life better. And that applies to business, and it applies to my diet. It applies to a lot of things that are hard, and you have to do them consistently. So you have to keep that perspective, right? And so for me, that's the only thing that makes me get through, doing crappy business stuff.
I think Judy wants to join our podcast.
I know, like, Judy, you're just sitting at home by
love
yourself.
it.
Just get on here with us. Jeez.
Yes.
I was going to say, somebody said something I thought was interesting. They say, don't make a choice now that limits your choices later. And I think that applies to our business as well, because if you choose not to do something now, then it will just continue to pile. And then later on, your actual ability to choose gets less and less. Like even now with my book, I don't get to choose to do other things because I chose not to write my book 2 months ago. And now I'm scrambling to get it written, and I'm tired and exhausted. I definitely pushed myself into a corner. So like if you're sitting and you're trying to figure out what to do, make a choice so that next week or next month or at the end of the year, you can say, I did the books I needed to, or I did the marketing I needed to, or I did the backlist fixing that I need to, so that my 2023, my choices for what I do is huge. Like my whole point of having my backlist cleaned up is so that I can put that aside, be done with it. The books are done. I can just market them every so often, do promos, and I can now look forward with all of my future books as exciting. I want to be able to fill them with fun experiences for my reader. I want to find my readers and I want to get them pumped. Like that freedom to me sounds like that's my goal. My 2022 goal is freedom from my backlist so that I can focus on my front list while my backlist is selling. And while I'm doing those fun things, the dopamine hit TikTok things that I do that make me excited. And then I can now close it. Because one of my anxieties is that I'm going to have a TikTok go viral on a book that the backlist link is broken and that I don't have a paperback for, and people are asking, and I don't have audio for it. And I don't I'm missing out on money that I could be making because I have this going on. And so like for me, it's been this thing of like, get it done and turn on the TV, watch while you're creating this and get it uploaded. But now there's series that I don't even think about because it's all done. Everything should up that should be. And I'm slowly adding A+ content. But once that's done, like you said, Laura, you're getting all these pieces and you're slowly trying to push them together, and like you're done. And that's when you can move on, so that when it gets to writing and the things that make you excited, you don't have this weight of like, all these other things that I should be doing over here. So,
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
So
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No. Okay. I just had this idea. So we need to reward ourselves at the end of the year for all of the goals that we've accomplished. So I think that our last podcast where we go through our goals, see what we did, we should have like a bag of our favorite chocolate. Ooh. And for every goal that we accomplish, we get to like eat a piece of chocolate.
Oh my gosh.
Or something along those lines.
I
to where
love
like
it.
we can visibly celebrate our wins in our podcast. And we can see who gets to eat the most chocolate or something like that. I don't know.
I love it. I'm there for it. I'm like, I might make some cake or ice cream.
Yeah, something like that. Whatever makes you happy is maybe I'll get me a giant salami and I get a slice of salami for everything I do. I don't know. So
sorry.
Why is salami so funny?
This is a random. That's not what you normally
You guys
hear.
know I've been talking about it for years.
I know you. I am not surprised. You love your salami.
Laura's laughing like.
So sorry. I thought it was a euphemism or something. I was like, I can't believe you just said that.
Please do not do that. Do not bring that to the podcast. Judy just said I love salami. I think she's a little delayed. So now she now she's laughing. Okay, I think it's great, Michelle. I think we should do that.
We'll reward ourselves, and all of you guys watching can do it with us. We'll let you know. Okay, now for our questions. Yeah,
so I'm gonna start making very small goals. I woke up on a Monday.
Exactly.
So I did that. Okay, let's go to the 2 questions that we got. So Julie Kramer says, I'm planning to start 2 pen names. One, start slightly spicier stuff, also known as not spicy at all. And one to hopefully get an agent and go trad with LGBT stuff. Any tips on pen names would be greatly appreciated.
We do have some podcasts on pen names. You can go back and look through some of our content, but I think the biggest thing with pen names, one decision you have to make is, do you want them to be secret pen names? Because depending on whether or not you want them to be completely unrelated to you or unconnected to you will determine a lot of the answer to this question.
I mean, she's talking about heat level being different from, I'm guessing she's currently writing sweet. So if she wants to be more steamy, I think the common consensus is people like to have that somewhat detached from your sweet pen name. So what would you do, Michelle, if you wanted to have a pen name and you're like, I'm going to become like ghosty chocolate? I don't know. Can't think of pen names.
Okay, I'll just talk about my pen name, which is Luna Lee. So my fancy name is Luna Lee, and I don't mind being connected with her at all because it's the same steam level that I write now, and I know a lot of my readers like to read fantasy, so I don't mind them knowing it. But I'm not necessarily going to be like, advertising that much, but it's a different. I'm mostly doing it so that I can differentiate on Amazon between my romance, contemporary, especially stuff, and fantasy. It's about algorithms as much for me as it is anything. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I don't mind if readers know who I am, so I'm not going to hide it. I'm probably going to share a website with both of my names and have different pages on my website for the different names. Mm-hmm. And I'll direct my fantasy readers towards my fantasy names page, but then they can go explore on my website and find out about my other stuff, that kind of thing. But for example, if I was writing steamy romance and it was something like maybe I was writing erotica and it was something I didn't want connected with my career or people that I work with, or maybe I've heard of elementary school teachers, for example, or school librarians that write erotica and they don't want their students stumbling into what they're writing. So for them, it's something they really want, no connection at all. Everything is veiled in secrecy. That makes a big difference. And, you have to have completely different websites, completely different emails, completely different. Like you don't want like your best friend necessarily, or all your best friends, buying both of your books, because then all of a sudden your also bots kind of start bleeding together and it might unveil who you are, or running Facebook ads for your pen name from your other author account. And then because people can see which pages are running ads. So, you just kind of have to think about that if you're trying to keep it secret. As far as advertising, definitely. Amy can speak to that more than I can.
I moved stuff over to pen names because I thought it was going to help me get book bubs more. So I'm actually thinking about just unhooking all of my single standalones from series in general and just market each book individually and then have a link in the back where I want them to go. But I would say for your spicier, I would, for your LGBT one, I would talk to your publisher. I'm not sure, since you're wanting to go trad, I would just leave it and then pitch to people, letting them know you do have other stuff. So yeah, go ahead.
I want to jump in here, but I've got a mowing guy outside. So I would say with your traditional books, if you have an agent, they may be able to direct you in this a little bit better, but a lot of publishers are not wanting to necessarily connect to an indie name. It's not necessarily just about what you're writing, but they just want to control your brand that they're selling. So they may want you to come up with a completely different pen name that they can create a brand around for their own in-house purposes. Because for one thing, they want anything connected to that brand to reflect what they want it to be, for one thing. And they also don't want any of your other stuff to be in competition with what they're publishing. So if you're an indie author and you publish frequently, they may not want those books competing for your readers because you have the same name as them.
Yeah, it's perfect. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about a pen name for something you're going trad with. I would kind of wait to see what they have to say, but they might eventually want you to. Scarlett asks, how do you deal with obligation books? Michelle, this is you. You know, the ones you announce publicly are coming, but realize they won't move the needle as other projects on your to-be written list. Do you pull off the Band-Aid and get them out quickly to move on, or do they stay on the back burner while you do other things?
I'll take B, please. I try to write them out of obligation, and I just can't make myself do it usually. And I've decided that writing anything is better than writing nothing, which is where I usually end up going if I'm trying to write a book that I'm just supposed to write but don't really want to anymore.
I think there is definitely a place for just calling it quits and saying maybe eventually I'll come around to it, or don't even making that promise and just say don't expect another book because it's just not going to happen. And I think you'll disappoint some readers, but I mean, you just have to say it's just not coming for me. I do though think that there needs to be, like, for me, I was not daydreaming about my book, and when I don't daydream about my book, I know something's wrong. And so I would say if it's something that you feel like you have to do, like last year, my goal was increasing my series, and there was a couple times with books that I just didn't want to keep going. But I was like, I tried to find ways to make it interesting to me again so that I wanted to get back into it. My last book nearly killed me because it was wrapping up everything for the whole, 8-book series. So there was a lot of just random stuff that wasn't like romance exciting, so I was just kind of going through it, but I knew my readers really wanted it. They really wanted the last book, but I did try to add some elements that made it a little more exciting. But this last one with Harmony Island, I was just like, I need to start daydreaming about my book, and I'm definitely back to that. So I know that was a struggle. I guess it just kind of depends on what your goals are, and if you just can't do it, then just not. Judy says she's done this before. She wrote a bonus short story instead, and it satiated some readers that way. So you could definitely do that. If you've only announced it publicly, I think you're fine. If you have pre-orders up for it, that's a little bit different, just because you could lose your pre-order privileges with Amazon. But if that's worth it to you, then I would say do it. If not, I would say you haven't pre-ordered it, just move on.
Mm-hmm. A year does go by quicker than you think, though, if you get put in pre-order jail.
Oh, really?
Speaking from experience.
I just get excited. I'm like, I'm gonna go put up a new pre-order, and like last year, I put up 8 billion pre-orders. I think it was more than 8, and I was like, all right, I'm forcing myself to finish this series, and now I do. And I had a TikTok do well, and somebody came back and were like, 11 books. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start this series. So there's some people who love long series and will want to read the entire thing. So, all right, we did have one question for Kindle Vella. Does a story have to be completed on Vella before you can publish it as a book?
No. The tricky thing is that you just have to decide what you consider to be a complete story for your ebook. You just have to have at least 10 episodes at a time. So you could write 10 episodes, have them completed, wait 30 days, and publish that as an ebook. For what I'm doing with my fantasy right now is that I know for me, I have a hard time if I finish book 1, making myself write the next 2 books in the series. So by writing on Kindle Vella as one long story, then I'm not going to end up feeling finished. And I'm just going to go back in and break up that one story into their books. And I'm writing it so that there's arcs that end in cliffhangers for the 3 books. So it's paced like a trilogy, but I'm just writing it as a story on Kindle Vella. So yeah, just make sure you have at least 10 episodes at a time, that they've all been live for 30 days, and let her rip. So
awesome. Well, I think that's the end of our podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. We hope you guys had a great first half of the year. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, so stay tuned. Probably I was thinking about doing a question and answer, but we'll see. And then I kind of want to do a little bit more refocusing, resetting for the rest of the second half of the year. So that's probably going to be more where we get to. But it is summer, so be prepared for us to come, an hour before saying, no podcast, because we're all crazy busy with kids and sports and summer school and jobs and all that stuff. So, but we're grateful you guys are here. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you're on the YouTube channel, make sure you come join us in the Facebook group. Or if you're in the Facebook group, you can also watch us through the YouTube channel. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
bye.